up, everybody? You know, something that's really irritated the living hell out of me for a long time. It's not all of her stuff here. Candles, Advil, whatever. People need candles when they work. She works in here too. That's not what drives me nuts. It's been all these years where, at least lately, I've seen a lot of, politicians on the left, mainly, mayors of like sanctuary cities and stuff, blaming Texas for sending all the immigrants across the border to them for, them having financial woes. Well, I mean, if any of them, or anyone left's, hopefully someone on the left's listening, but, what the fuck else were they supposed to do? I mean, to get it done nice and easy, what were they supposed to do? I'm waiting for a good answer. Like, what were they supposed to do? Like, are they just, like, their policy is not to have giant open borders and letting everyone, come as they wish and send them places, and yet they're the ones that were actually on the border having to deal with this shit. So why should they be the one to be able to take the burden and the brunt of it all financially and everything? If you want to have those policies, sorry, those are your policies. The Fed's not going to, the Fed shouldn't fucking be there to help you because, you're going against federal law. Like, that should be, simple common sense stuff. But, we'll get to the point of it all when we go, full circle. There's no circling back. We just close the circle out at some point. And we know that, here at the Jesse Rucinski show, I love numbers. And, especially numbers that we've been talking about for years since all the border, chaos started. And, we've been saying it since the beginning, because we could do basic math and, just cognitively think. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. What would be called racist and everything else, like, it has nothing to do with it. Like, we can understand what it meant financially. And then everyone keeps saying, no, that's not the case, it's not the case. But, like, how is it not? Like, how far up someone's ass do you have to be to still be living in, denial? Like, it's basic economics, basic numbers, basic math. I might not have ever done algebra 2 or any of that. No, algebra isn't my thing, but I can still do basic math like a son of a bitch. And the numbers never added up with it. But we can go, over some years, because we know I like numbers. Numbers of the southwest border under Trump, for FY17 was just under 304,000. FY18, 396,000. Fiscal year 19, 851,500, and then fiscal year 20, 400,651, with a total of 1,952,654. I repeat, 1,952,654 was the total just at the southwest land border. Not total, because if you look at the numbers, they did get bigger places, way bigger everywhere. But these are the really big ones where the millions were coming through. So that's why I'm doing the southwest ones, because the northern ones are small. Like, all the other ones are smaller compared to this. But then we get to Biden. Fiscal year 21, 1.66 million, which surpassed the record from 2000. Fiscal year 22 was 2,378,944. Fiscal year 23, 2,475,669. Then fiscal year 24, they saw 2,135,005. Totaling 8,649,618 just at the southern border alone. And by the way, like, you say that 1.66, like, his first year, just at that southern border, almost outdid all of Trump's 4 years. Tell me that's not a fucking problem. Just saying. And so far, year to date for fiscal year 25, it's 4,200. Jesus. 422,325. If I could learn how to read a number, that'd be great. And here we are. But only 64,334 of that 422,000 coming since Trump's inauguration, and them taking control, so February on. There's a whole lot in that last, couple minutes before Trump got into power. Total under Biden administration, fiscal year 24 was nearly 3 million total encounters nationwide, which made their grand total of 10.8 million, with the nationwide number, which is gigantic. Total encounters for Trump were around 3 million. They were almost at 11 million for the Biden administration. That doesn't include the gotaways, which I think they said there's, 1.5 million, 2 million gotaways under Biden. Like, hi, we saw them, but they never got anything. They just got through because they were so busy. That happens. Again, there's ones we don't even know of. Like, that's just the numbers that we know. Terror watch list, suspects under Trump barely, the single digits. Biden hit almost 400. Chinese nationals from under 5,000 to over 60,000 under Biden. Criminal aliens removed by ICE under Trump was a little over 600,000, with Biden barely scratching over the 150,000 mark. And again, that's not the point of the day. At least not the main point. It paints a picture and shows where the priorities were when everyone says, we need to uphold, you need to uphold the law. No one's above the law. And Biden kept saying that there was no law to fix it. They needed new laws and more money. And it's U.S. code. Coming in legally is a crime. It's like a misdemeanor the first time. You come back again, it's a felony. And a lot of these people are not just one-time offenders. Lots of repeat offenders throughout, all the time. But the big part of the problem of all the stupid fucks, and, they don't even seem to be able to think of and consider, is the actual physical cost and, the fiscal responsibility involved in running these cities and states where they just let mayhem run through, because only people that get hurt during all of it, the taxpayers, they pay to take care of all these people. Then when they run out of money for other things, they just get taxed more to take care of these people. And yet they keep pushing on it. And if you say anything, they just think you're batshit insane, which sometimes I am. I'll give you that. Perhaps you might have me. But, we got some numbers. New York City, allegedly, again, these some allegeds. Closest estimates. Not alleged, It's the closest you could find. Around $5 billion spent in New York City since 2022. Expected to exceed $10 billion by 2025. So high, we're here. Broken down to $1.98 billion on housing and rent for the illegals, $2 billion on services and supplies, around $500 million on food and medical costs, and another $500 million on IT and administrative costs, all the processing and all that stuff, and whatever the hell else falls under that, because you know how the government is with things. They'll put it in there, whether it actually should be in there or not, so God knows. But that's crazy. Chicago, we've seen a lot of money spent. We've seen small numbers, much larger numbers, but I will, we'll get to them in a bit, because that's the big closing out the circle moment for this one. We got some more numbers. The American Immigration Council. The estimate that arresting, detaining, processing, and removing 1 million undocumented immigrants a year would cost the U.S. government at least $88 billion annually. It could reach a total trillion over a decade, just to try to get everyone that came in the last 4 years illegally. Like, I'm sorry, it's a crime. You don't like it, you can go back where you came from. You can fuck off. You can read the penal code and understand what they're doing is actually a crime, especially all the no one's above the law people. No one's above the law, but they're fighting for all these people and using taxpayer money in some cities to, keep these people that broke the law here. It's fucking amazing when you think about it. It really is. But, and they also could reach, some of these things, with that, could reach $1 trillion in 10 years. The framework, like the average per year goes down to around $7 billion for arrests. The operations, all of that, $66 billion to detain them, in all the facilities, wherever they are after they get them. 12.6 in legal processing, and then another 2.1 billion to remove them and send them back home. So that's, the basic breakdown that we got from the American Immigration Council. Again, all the links, at least the ones that'll fucking work, will be in the show notes. So if you want to look at it yourself, it's going to all be there for everybody. As long as nothing crashes and I don't lose all these links because, I didn't copy and paste any of them, because why would I do anything that makes sense? Can't do that, now can we? Fiscal year 24 numbers. Immigration detention centers received $3.43 billion. This is in funding. Immigration court system was appropriated $840 million. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS. Their Refugee and Asylum Division received $424 million. ICE spending was around $9.6 billion. CBP's budget was $19.6 billion. Then U.S. Border Patrol's annual budget for just on their own exceeded $7.3 billion. Now, July 2025 funding that we've seen, since Trump got into office, we saw $45 billion for new immigration detention centers for the next 4 years. I know, English today. I don't get it. $29.9 billion towards ICE's enforcement and deportation efforts over the next 4 years. $46.6 billion for border wall construction, because, we paid for it the first time. I still love that one. Liberals are all pissed. Who still paid for it anyway? Brr. Yes, then we paid for it. It sat there, it rot. Then we had to spend the money, the taxpayer dollars, again to get new materials to finish building it. Like, that's how fucking batshit crazy all of them are. We had to pay for it, and they all threw a hissy fit. And then we had to pay for it again. That makes sense. But we also saw $10 billion for the Department of Homeland Security, also known as DHS. We all know them for border enforcement purposes. The federal, all right, see, told you English. The Federation for American Immigration Reform, or FAIR, estimated that 2023 had federal expenditures related to undocumented immigrants totaling around $66.5 billion, including medical and welfare benefits. You add all that up, that's only the federal money that's being reported. I mean, like states, local places all have their own money that they're spending too, and there's still more reports out there that, I didn't look at. We didn't go over, because there's a lot of them onto the total amount of, money, and it's crazy just the amount that the federal government and everyone spent on it. Like, for people that shouldn't even been here. And, it isn't about hateful speech or anything. It's not about not liking immigrants. Guess what? We love immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants. Why we got so many immigrants switching to the right? Because they also didn't like everyone just coming in and getting handed whatever the fuck they wanted. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. I fucking hate Sports Center. But it's common sense. In fact, that, we should take care of our own, first. Our own hungry, our own sick, our own poor, our own homeless, our own elderly, our own veterans who are getting shit on repeatedly, our own education system, our own infrastructure, it goes on and on and on. But we have billions for this shit. No problem with it. They just throw it right over, don't care. We can't, fix any of the actual problems that we have at home. That's the problem that most, it comes down to most things that I have with liberals, because they just don't think big picture. They just think, Orange Man bad. And they're fucking stupid. And then when the house is burning down, they're confused. But like I said, I'm trying to go on a tangent, but we are finishing out that circle. And back to Chicago, specifically, some stuff. Some of the dumbest in the country, though, by the way, but they just keep finding a way to get worse. Rahm Emanuel sucked. The Penguin, whatever we called her, Lori Lightfoot, was fucking worse. And then they found this guy. How the fuck does the city keep finding worse when they sucked that bad? That takes real fucking talent. But allegedly, from reports obtained by the ABC 7i team, Chicago has spent $638.7 million in vendor contracts, alone, just related to immigration and the new arrivals from it. $850,000 of taxpayers' money was spent on moving migrants out of the city. And we've also seen the number $330 million being thrown out there for a lot of it. Too, and we've seen a lot of bigger numbers come out there. But that's still, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that they had to spend on illegal migrants and to get them out of there, and legal and medical and all this other shit they did. Well, at the same time, the CPS, not Child Protective Services, not the Child Protective Services, that would be the Chicago Public Schools, are going belly up. Completely belly up. It's been happening for forever, but they're worried about illegal immigrants. They're starting the summer of 2025 for the year with a $734 million deficit. Funny, I just mentioned, I think $900 million worth of money they spent on illegals and stuff. Probably even closer to $1 billion, but as I digress. They just keep doing it so fucking stupid. Who would have thought that creating more expenditures with COVID money, would be bad? You fucking genius if you didn't think of that. Let's just take this money we're not supposed to have, spend it on more stuff that's going to cost us more money every year, even though we're already in the hole. That's fucking just pure genius. Truly. You have to be a fucking rocket scientist to be like, we're in debt, let's go and do this with this money to go further into debt every year. Makes complete and utter sense. You've had more head injuries than me, and I've had a lot, and that don't even make sense to me. But, depending on relief funds like that or other things, and rising costs is something that we've all dealt with, all businesses, all everything. So that's a fucking half-ass shit excuse that you could expect from a liberal. Declining enrollment, in their schools. Maybe don't be a useless shithole and actually educate people, and people won't be fleeing the system. Just saying. The State Board of Education says that the CPS needs around $1.6 billion more a year than the rest of the state school systems, which, they say shows an underfunding problem. I see it as a spending fucking problem. Or maybe you should try to actually have good schools fucking problem. People won't be fleeing them en masse. That's what it comes down to for me. And they have great ideas to fix it. Budget cuts. Who would have thought that being fiscally responsible and getting rid of bullshit that you don't need, that should be happening? Don't remember whoever said that. Who was going on and on about cutting unnecessary fat from spending? Anyway, I know I pissed a lot of people off. That's all that matters. Seeking, but their dumb ideas after that, because they really are just seeking, from other surpluses for the city, to spend there. Dumb. Mayor Brandon Johnson, who's a complete fucking idiot. I've been saying it the whole time, but has suggested that they consider taking a short-term high-interest loan to cover the deficit because, he's a fucking idiot, and that proves it because let's just cover the deficit and then get a high-interest loan that we have to pay back, and we can't pay back anything when they're far in the fucking hole every year, so let's just make it fucking worse because that's how these dumb bastards work. None of them actually have fucking brains. They just spew out the fucking shit that you need to for the party, and they get whatever the fuck they want. And now here's Chicago. Fucked. And I love how they blamed everything, but themselves, for all of it, because it's not like they haven't been running the books and seeing this shit for years. Just let it keep happening year after year after year after year, and here we fucking are with them, $800 million in the hole for the school year before it started. Like they didn't see the numbers of students declining. Students, go down. Number of students go down, less funding you get, which makes it harder when you're already fucked to, get anything. And now, I heard allegedly 30% of schools in the Chicago public school system are at least half empty. I don't know why we have to get to this point before someone's like, maybe we should do something about this. I'm like, no, it's too fucking late. That's the problem. It's too fucking late. Like, they didn't see the discrepancies for years. They didn't see the decline for a year. And they don't think about any of it until now. Like, no, we could do that. Like, how fucking far up your own asshole do you have to be that you're just finally having that fucking thought now? Like, and it makes me think back, like I said, full circle. Like, they're losing that much money, it's almost $800 million in the hole for the school year, for the public schools. And they're like, we should take out a loan. We need to borrow this. We need to do all this. Now, if you weren't spending billions on bullshit, like illegals and stuff you don't need to do, like, think how much easier it'd be for a lot of this deficit to go the fuck away if you were just actually fiscally responsible and taking care of, people that should be with the taxes that they pay. Seems pretty fucking simple to me. They'd rather just keep going until, it explodes because, that works so well for Detroit. For anyone that remembers. Yes, there's a lot of, there's notes here, a lot of numbers in big font because I'm blind, I'm not wearing my glasses, and hell, I can barely even, iterate the English language right now, let alone remember all these numbers because there's a lot of them. But now, they keep doing it, and they keep fucking defending it, which is what pisses me off the most about it. Like, everything's falling apart, everything sucks, crime's up, homelessness, hunger, all these things are happening, and their, school systems falling apart, infrastructure falling apart. And they're still out there defending all the stuff they're doing for illegal immigrants. What they're doing, and then putting all the blame on, Republicans in Texas for shipping people there. Well, if they weren't fucking coming across because you guys are advocating for it, and it's in their doorstep, not fucking yours, why should they have to pay for your stupidity? Sorry, that's the way it always comes down to, And anyone that speaks or says anything about it is just, run down as racist and bigoted and all that other horse shit. And the real, thing is, if they just sat down and actually listened to anything that we said, the catastrophe wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be at this fucking level. And have that many people come across the board. We wouldn't have school systems falling apart. We wouldn't have any of this shit. And all these people going, we need a major tax hike so we can, fix this. Now you just need to stop being irresponsible fucking lemurs. Enforce the fucking federal law and move on. But again, this is the way to, bankrupt the whole entire thing. It's just part of the big fucking picture. And it's going to keep happening in the sanctuary states and cities because that's what we've seen it all. And it's not sustainable. They're just going to keep fucking going until, it's far too fucking late. And, we even have, cities and states spending billions on, together, all of them, on, ways to hinder ICE's operations, and all that. Even though they do customs enforcement to it like drug busts, but they're spending money to make it harder on them to enhance, their communities by enforcing federal law. And, whether it's illegal immigrants, gang members, drugs, to get that shit off the streets, it's enhancement for the whole area. And they'd rather spend tax money to, go against that, even though at the same time they're talking about no one's above the law. It's just basic economics. But again, no one on the left knows any basic economics. I'm sorry. You don't. I still see people defending it all the fucking time. So Either they don't think about it because they're just orange man batted to death, or you're stupid. Like, there's no other way. We've all been saying it for years. This isn't financially responsible. This is not fiscally going to hold. We can't fucking do it. Why? The country's already going broke every year and into debt. How the fuck are we going to take care of all this? And no, you need to have a heart. Like, why we keep doing this? We're not going to be able to take care of anyone. It's going to be all over. And, I think that personally, as a veteran, I think we should get taken care of better. We should be taken care of. Shouldn't be any homeless vets. Shouldn't be any homeless anyone or hungry anyone. Anything like that. Most of that could be fixed. The ones paying the taxes. So we should get that fucking priority, which is what gets a lot of us going. Infrastructure should be better. Everything should be fucking better if we have all the money to waste on this shit. Instead, school systems are going bankrupt. The country's going bankrupt. And, everything sucks. Everything sucks and is a heaping pile of shit. But, no one will ever do it because that means agreeing with the orange man. They'd rather watch the country burn than just be like, yeah. Even with the numbers punching them in the face, they're still going to go against him because that's an actual cult. I don't know. You got something fucking wrong with your brain. But I'm sure I forgot something. I know there's stuff I've forgotten. It was circling through in my head the whole time. I'm like, what was it? I don't remember it. But I will say one more time before we end this. Stop fucking blaming Texas. They wanted to enforce the law. The Fed wouldn't let them and even stopped them multiple times. So they started sending it to people that said they was calling them all kinds of names. Now they're going bankrupt because now you know what Texas felt like in all those small towns and all those people were just fucking pouring over and it was their fucking problem. When they wanted to enforce the fucking law. Some brains. Figure some shit out. Take accountability. Fuck off. I don't know. It's one of my favorites. Who doesn't like telling someone to fuck off? I mean, honestly, but that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you for watching, on YouTube and Rumble and all that. Thank you for listening. Make sure to follow, check out the website, 2146media.com. Check out the Etsy at Jesse Rucinski Creations. Share the hell out of this, and we'll be back soon. Peace.